All right, we're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. A bit of afternoon admin. Cool. All right, that's working then. Better than last time. All right, on the agenda is just a quick look over approvals that we did from this morning. We're just looking for some more approvals that have come out throughout the day. And we've also just got to get some of our marketing ready for tonight, and then going to figure out the rest of some ads that we just made live yesterday as well, just checking on them through TikTok and Meta. Right, for those that are new tuning in, we're on a 60-day challenge. So I'm just going to go live for 60 days, Monday to Friday. So that's going to count as the 60 days. I can't guarantee always on the weekend that I'm going to go live. But the whole purpose is to just give you an insight into what it's like to be in the social media space, agency owner, cool stuff, different things that I do different days. Obviously, there's going to be some periods that I can't show. If I can show it, I'll just put it to my mute scene, which is Ready to take your audio game to the next level? Well, in this YouTube video, what I'm going to show you is why Rode and what they've just released is going to be a game changer for most business owners and most content creators in 2023. So if you haven't been living under a rock, you would have seen that Rode has released a new product. I'm still kind of working on that, but you get the gist. I still feel like I can include a majority of the things that I do, but there are some literal in-person things no longer. I can't show. But hey, maybe in the future we can. Another shameless plug, Business Bite Social Media Uncovered podcast. If you haven't checked in today's episode, it goes live every day at 4 a.m., 7 days a week. All about business, social media, in bite-sized chunks of information. So yeah, there's all the intros that I need to do. I'm going to get on with work. Any questions, just leave them in the comments. And yeah, let's do it. Also, I'm working extremely hard to get over to TikTok Live because it's the only platform I can't get live onto, because it's the only account I have in existence that doesn't have more than 1,000 followers. So if you are watching this live, the best thing you can possibly do, go over to mattmackay.01 and give me a follow on TikTok, because I need this to be included in my regime, but I can't go live until I've got 1,000. So yeah. Oh God. Am I lagging in this? I don't think I am. I think it's the only one occurrence that's ever happened to me, and now I'm like double checking every single feed. Oh God. Music's on. Good old Siri. I don't think I am lagging. I don't know. I get my head around these things. Maybe I'm 2 frames. Should I be 2 frames? Oh well, whatever. Also, the music you're hearing, Epidemic Sounds. If you need a 7-day trial, let me know. Comment in the comment section. And Alrighty. I really don't know if I'm lagging. I have a feeling I am, but I don't really know how to fix that. I thought I'd fixed all the problems, but oh, maybe I'm not. Would you look at that? Right, email marketing time. So part of the structure we have as an agency is we do a lot of the heavy lifting for businesses, and part of that is email marketing. So whether it's setting up automation, setting up users, setting up subscriber lists, setting up what's the word I'm trying to look for, segmented lists and all of that stuff, or it's just setting up newsletters, emails, and so forth. I've even got a podcast episode on this of why I feel like email marketing is really, really powerful, but it's overlooked by businesses because people just assume it's like a newsletter or all of that stuff, where it's not. You look at email marketing, and email marketing could be a whole lot of different things. It could be a nurture campaign from a person that's just subscribed to your newsletter or just bought a product, or has been in your ecosystem for a long time and all you want to do is keep them active. We've created campaigns for clients that have waiting lists and have apps and have service-based industries, to we've got clients that have products in which we need to be able to take that person down a customer journey after they've bought a product, to make sure they fully understand that the client doesn't just care about the sale, they care about how you use that product, how you use that service, which I feel like is really beneficial. All right, let's get into some email marketing. So for this specific client, although I wish I could show you, I can't. I plan on trying to emulate what we're doing, but in our like agency accounts, so that you guys get a glimpse of exactly what we're doing. But for this exact client, what we're doing, what we did set up originally, is effectively like an onboarding sequence or a campaign. So um, so that effectively, as soon as we accept that person or that person moves to the next stage, there's an email or there is a specific in-house thing happening. So that's why effectively I've worked with ActiveCampaign for a very long time in terms of the email provider, and that's why we recommend, we don't force, but we recommend all our clients use this kind of system, because we know it inside out. We know how to set up those campaigns in those systems. So it's pretty simple in terms of getting that stuff sorted. All right, this is going to take me a while, so let me get back into. took, but we're all good. That is scheduled and ready to go. Also, if you don't know and you do email marketing, there is a big DMARC change coming out. If not, it's already out for majority of the providers. So effectively what that means is Gmail have clamped down on a lot of the way that you send out mass emails. So mass email is not just like a spam email. It just is like to, let's say, a contact list of 700 people or more, I would say. What happens with that is it means that it's going to be harder to send those out if you don't have an at business name address. So if you are using like Mailchimp, ActiveCampaign, any provider, I think like Klaviyo, any of those email providers, you are going to have to change a few things. And the way that you do that is simply change a few DNS settings. So the DNS is part of your at business name. So when you buy a domain name, you have on like GoDaddy or Crazy Domains or any of those things, you can go into those settings and change a DNS setting. So effectively go back to your email provider, whether that's ActiveCampaign, Klaviyo, or whatever, change the at Gmail to at business name, and then change a few settings in that domain. So that will 100% help with deliverability because just like everything else in social media, email is moving the same way. They don't want people spamming inboxes, and then that looks bad on the likes of those providers like ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, and so forth. So you really need to pay attention to that and really communicate that with your team, or if you're yourself, change that as well because it is February. And I'm assuming based on giving the grace period that people are given, they are going to start clamping down on them. And when I say deliverability, you'll be able to find that deliverability score in your campaign results every time you send a result. So if you start seeing your campaign drop in open rates, it's probably why. All right, so I thought what I could do is, now that I've done that, I could just switch to my editing screen share and what I want to do. I change that to Google Chrome. All right, so this is our agency like tester account. So part of being partnered with ActiveCampaign, we get access to like what's called a quote unquote dummy account. And what that means is effectively I can go in and show you things without disclosing client information and so forth. So what I was talking about before was something called an automation. So it's available in pretty much any provider, whether it's MailChimp, Klaviyo, whatever email provider you're using, you'll probably have an automation. Depending on the amount you pay per month, depends on the usability of that automation. That's why I kind of like ActiveCampaign for the price you pay compared to pretty much any other provider. I feel like they do a really, really great job at a really, really affordable rate. Again, up to you whether you want to use them. If you want a 7-day trial, you can comment in the comment section. But I thought what I'll do is I'll just quickly make a dummy automation for you that we use to onboard clients. And we've kind of put this into pretty much every client account, whether they when they want to really itemize who comes into their ecosystem. So when I say itemize, they just want everyone subscribe. They don't want everyone coming into their program. They just want a select amount of people. So one of the most important things that you need to think about is lists are for individual, or lists are for people to be stored into. They're not for automations to be played on, because the problem is if you accidentally put a person in in a list, they're going to get, it's going to trigger an automation. It's much easier to apply tags when you're running things on Zapier and your backend automations, especially when you're trying to connect the purchase from Stripe to your email provider, or your funnel to Stripe to your email provider. So I would recommend changing the mindset around lists and tags to tags. As soon as someone's done an action, they get tagged. As soon as someone's completed something or they've showed interest in something, that's where you store them, and that's what lists are, because you want to start playing around with segmentation and all of that stuff later on. But what we do is we always just try and create tags for everything so that we can control a lot of things. So for this example, I'm just going to write test, and I'm only going to allow it to run once, because this is effectively what we call an application automation. And then what happens is that I always tend to try and always want to wait a certain amount of time, because, for example, when you're building this, when we build this for clients, we don't want things happening straight away. We want things to be able to be shown where these are going. So to the average business owner, it's quite intense when you think about email marketing. You think about email marketing in the way that, like this is an experience that a potential client is going to have. So you want to be able to make sure that when they're doing their own stuff, they can really access it themselves, or do it themselves. They don't want to be reliant on us. So what I do is I try and put wait windows, is what I call them. So what will happen is that as soon as someone comes in, let's say, for example, they've purchased a product or they've applied to be a client of yours, and you might have a waiting list, that's going to be what that tag's going to be called. And then they go into what's called a waiting window. And then that will show a 1 symbol or 2 symbol, depending on how many people are waiting. And you can obviously change this to as many minutes as you want, or days or months or years. The year could be like you could have like a yearly subscription. So you could send a yearly reminder that subscription's coming up. If, let's say, you're not using Stripe and it doesn't use the inbuilt reminders, on a month-to-month basis, you could be sending automated emails every month to check in on them if you're not checking in on them personally. Weeks could be like an update. So what's happened within the week of tech, for example, if you're a tech company, you could have all of these things happening every single week that can be automated, or could be preloaded to be seeming like it's live, but it's automated. Daily emails, all of those things, they can all be done there. Another example is that you can do an and or an or. So, what I like doing is thinking about, like, what are these people doing in the relationship to the specific business. It's a little bit more complicated. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to just show you the simple option. If you want a more advanced understanding of it, let me know. And I'm more than happy to do it as well. So then, for example, if this is going to be in here, what we want to do is then say, okay, cool, we're going to go send an email. So for example, it could be just an email saying that we've received your application, we're processing it. So it could just be the email here, and you would just say test 1. And then you could also just start with a template, or you could do a past campaign. So the reason why past campaign is good is that if you've had a really high performing campaign with a subject line or something like that, might not work for this example, but in the future you could always reuse those campaigns. And if you've got a template within a specific aesthetic, like you're a product company or a service-based company, you could have an aesthetic that you like, or you have branding that's already there. So for the sake of building it every single time, you can just create it as a template. For the sake of this one, I'm just going to build it as there. All right, let me just get this window closed. Again, if you've got any other questions, if you're watching this on the replay, which this is kind of designed for, just comment in the comment section. I'm more than happy to get back to you. So you get this window open. Cool. So another thing that you can do, like I was talking about before at the start of this, is that if you want to manually control this, so for example, you don't want everyone receiving this first email. So this could either be used as an automatic, like we've received your application, we're just processing it. So I'm going to work off this basis because maybe you don't have an SMS provider that sends that out that sends that out via text, like we do for most of our clients. Let's just say that is the the we've received your application process. So what you want to do is you want to put another specific condition. So you want to wait for, let's say, a day this time instead of just 5 minutes. And then what you want to do is you want to put a, where is it? So this is where I talk about the if or the and. So like if this person's done this, this is what happens, and if this person hasn't done this, this is what happens. So what I would say is normally I just go actually I'm just going to reload this. That's good. All right, so this is the window that I would actually use. So you can use either both, but this is probably more simple for this explanation. So what I would do is I'll just go tag. So I would just say, if I can spell correctly. So once that tag's applied, so for example, when you're going through each application at this process, so like when I talked about, for example, this waiting period here, this is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many people wait, right? So it's going to be waiting for a day. So every day you'll come back and check this specific thing. Then what you'll do is you'll go wait period until specific conditions are met. You'll put a tag in, and then let's say you'll say accepted, like that, for example. So if this tag applies, if that tag exists and it's the accepted tag, what will happen is that it obviously won't work for this example because those tags don't exist. But in hypothetical terminology of your account, this would exist. And then what will happen is that you can then create the next step for this process. So let's say, for example, that tag exists and you've already created that tag. And I'll show you probably in a later video how to make tags. What will happen is that effectively means that you can accept or decline that person live in the actual automation itself. So what it will do is it'll wait for this condition to be met. So just repeating myself again, if you put that tag in and there's an accepted vendor, accepted, for example, right? There's no results because I haven't made a tag yet. Hypothetically, let's say that person was accepted. You would then go and say, cool, let's send an email. And that would be the accepted email, right, for your application process or your declined process. So you could have two different variations. So if it does exist versus it doesn't, you could have an accepted versus a declined. So this is the kind of funnel that I would create if you weren't if you were trying to focus on trying to get people accepted, or you're trying to negate those people that you didn't want in your program. This tends to work well for people that, for example, don't have an existing funnel or don't have an existing sales process. They're relatively new to the system or the game of sales or your product or service. It can use really, really well for lead magnets. So for example, you could have a tag that's specific around the lead magnet. You could send them the lead magnet, and then based on if they're opening that lead magnet email that they received, you could then push them into a different sequence or so forth. But this is kind of an application example that I would use if you were trying to onboard or you were trying to create a waiting list and you wanted to accept only a certain amount of people each time. You could do it this way. And if, for example, you wanted to identify people that you wanted in your program versus the people that didn't fit the criteria but still applied anyway. So majority of the problems that people run into is that people will still apply anyway, even if they don't fit the criteria, because the parameters are quite hard to put in. And let's say, for example, an application process. So you can go through and make sure that all of the criteria reaches the satisfaction, Again, if you don't have an SMS provider, I would recommend putting something like this in so that at least they get confirmation that you've received it. And then what they do is you'd put a minimum of a day, so it gives you time to do this. You would then go into this section, and hypothetically you would have 5 to 10 people in here, or you might only have one. You could go into there and just type in the tag accepted or declined, and then that would base it on this amount of time. So yeah, that's pretty much a way that you could create an application funnel in itself using an email provider. Again, you can screenshot this, use it on your own email provider. If you're used to using ActiveCampaign, this will look familiar for you. But if you're not, you can pretty much replicate this on any process or any email provider. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's what, an hour? Pretty cool. So yeah, I've done just over an hour. We did some email marketing, we did some approvals again, and we did some little admin tasks that I can't, I guess, really show. But ultimately, hopefully that email automation or email nurture sequence can help a lot of people. I think it's a really easy way to get people through your processes. But at the end of the day, whatever works for you is going to work the best. And just play around with email marketing. Don't sleep on it. But shameless plug again, I do have an episode coming out either tomorrow or the next day about newsletters, email lists, and all of that stuff. So if you want some information around that, you should be able to look out for that episode. That's on Business Bytes Social Media Uncovered podcast on all major providers, all major platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Amazon, pretty much everything. I think it's on Audible. Like there's so many different providers. I think there's about 20 different providers that we have. So yeah, pretty cool. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next live tomorrow.